All right, so let's dive in. Today we're looking at a collection of UK headlines.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's Oleg Hill's UK Russian news channel. And it's kind of a unique take on things, you know?
Yeah, it's always fascinating to see how news is filtered through different perspectives.
Exactly. Like, it really gives you a broader understanding of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a little bit of everything today.
Okay.
Eco-friendly home upgrades, the state of the NHS, political controversies,
Oh, wow.
even some dinosaur discoveries.
Sounds like a fun mix.
Yeah. So why don't we start with something close to home, literally. The newspaper's reporting that millions of UK homeowners might be facing some unexpected costs. Yeah, if they want to go green.
All right.
Because Labour leader Keir Starmer is pushing for this major shift towards heat pumps, to replace those old gas boilers.
So on the surface, it sounds like a good thing, like for a greener future.
Right.
But are there some hidden downsides?
Well, yeah. I mean, it aligns with, environmental goals and all that.
All right.
But not everyone qualifies for government help to cover the installation costs.
Oh, I see.
And some homeowners might even need, additional upgrades, like insulation and things, which could add up to, a lot of money.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, how do you balance these ambitious environmental policies with just, affordability for everyday people?
Right.
It seems like good intentions, but it could accidentally hurt some people.
Yeah, it's like a green divide.
Yeah.
And speaking of divides, let's talk about healthcare. Okay, so there was an Ipsos poll, and it said 83% of Brits are worried about the NHS.
Wow, 83%, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what are they worried about?
Well, long wait times are a big one.
Yeah.
People struggling to get appointments, facing delays for surgeries, crowded emergency rooms.
Oh, gosh.
And then the Daily Mail kind of piles on
Oh, no.
with a report about rising NHS manager salaries.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it's while people are struggling to get care, the people at the top are doing okay.
Right. And that's the kind of thing that just makes people frustrated and distrustful.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on from the doom and gloom for a sec.
Okay.
Let's talk politics.
All right.
It's always interesting.
What you got?
So we've got the Times reporting that a big welfare reform might be delayed. It all depends on a report that's not expected till 2028.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time to wait for important changes.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, The Guardian's calling for a whole separate commission to deal with the adult social care system.
Oh, okay.
So that's another thing entirely.
Yeah, so it sounds like the government has a lot on their plate right now.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you have the Telegraph and the Express covering this controversy about the refusal to investigate those historical child sexual abuse cases in Oldham.
That's a really serious issue. It raises questions about accountability, transparency, especially when you're talking about sensitive things like this.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder how many other stories like this are out there,
Right. It's a sobering thought.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for some economic news.
Yeah, lay it on me. What's happening?
Well, the Financial Times is predicting some tough times for the UK economy. And they're saying it's not going to be smooth sailing anytime soon.
So more economic anxieties.
Mm-hmm. And B News is reporting that wealthy Brits are moving their assets abroad because of some tax changes.
So some people are voting with their wallets, as they say.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder what this means for the UK's economic future.
Right. And how it will impact people who don't have the option of, just moving their money around.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we need some good news now.
I agree.
Let's talk technology.
Yeah.
And maybe a bit of prehistoric adventure.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
So, first, the Ministry of Defense is making headlines. They've developed a groundbreaking atomic clock.
An atomic clock, really?
This thing is so accurate it loses less than 1 second every billion years.
Wow, that's incredible. What kind of impact will that have?
Well, they say it could revolutionize military operations, less reliance on GPS, which could be jammed or interfered with.
That makes sense.
It's like a major step forward in security and precision.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah. But on a slightly less optimistic note, we've also got reports of heightened security concerns after that terror attack in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. It was awful.
Yeah, the driver was inspired by ISIS. He plowed a truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street, killed 15 people, injured dozens more.
It's just a terrible reminder of the threat of terrorism and how difficult it is to to really maintain security.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, now for something completely different. Ready for this? Researchers have discovered massive dinosaur footprints in Oxfordshire.
Wow, really?
We're talking 200 footprints, some belonging to herbivores that were probably about 60 feet long.
60 feet long, that's huge.
I know. And get this. They also found three-toed tracks, probably from a megalosaurus.
That's incredible.
I know, right? It really puts things in perspective.
Yeah, it does.
And speaking of perspective, there's one more story before we wrap up this first part. It's about that tragic case of Sarah Sharif, the 10-year-old girl who was killed by her father.
Oh, yes, that was a terrible story.
Well, her father, Irfan Sharif, was attacked in prison recently.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it seems like, the consequences of this awful crime are still rippling out.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a heavy note to end on.
It is.
But we'll be back with more fascinating stories from Oleg Hill's UK-Russia news channel in just a bit.
Looking forward to it. So, where were we?
Right. We were talking about that controversy in Oldham. The refusal to investigate those historical child sexual abuse cases.
Oh, right. Yes. A very sensitive and potentially far-reaching issue.
Well, things have gotten even more interesting, and I'm using that word lightly.
Okay.
Elon Musk has weighed in.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. He's calling on, get this, King Charles to dissolve Parliament.
Oh, that's quite a statement.
And trigger a general election.
He's really going for it. What exactly is he criticizing?
Well, he's specifically targeting the government and Prime Minister Keir Starmer for not launching a national inquiry into these so-called rape gangs. He even wants Labour Party Minister Jess Phillips imprisoned for blocking the inquiry.
Wow, he's really taking a strong stance. Do you think this will have any real impact? I mean, it's Elon Musk.
It's already created quite a stir. Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch has echoed Musk's calls for justice and said an investigation is long overdue.
So this local case has blown up into a national debate, and Elon Musk is right in the middle of it. It really shows how connected everything is these days. A single tweet can have huge consequences.
And it's not just politicians chiming in. B News and a bunch of other outlets are reporting that people online and in communities are demanding accountability. This issue has really struck a nerve. It's like there's this underlying anxiety about how these kinds of cases are handled.
It makes you think about how we face these uncomfortable truths as a society and how we make sure those in power are held responsible. It'll be interesting to see what happens next.
Definitely. Okay, let's take a break from the drama for a moment and get back to those everyday concerns. Remember that Ipsos poll about the anxieties surrounding the NHS?
Yeah, the one where 83% of Brits said they were worried?
Well, those anxieties seem to be rooted in some very specific issues, like long wait times in emergency rooms, difficulty getting appointments with GPs, and delays in elective surgeries.
It sounds like people are really feeling the strain on the system.
Exactly. These long waits can have serious consequences for people's health. Imagine waiting months for a crucial surgery, or not being able to see a doctor when you're feeling sick.
It's scary to think about.
Right. And it really highlights the need for constant improvement within healthcare systems to make sure they're actually meeting people's needs.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got healthcare worries, political controversies, and Elon Musk making waves. What else is happening?
Well, crime seems to be a recurring theme. The Liberal Democrats are calling for more police presence in local communities to deal with all the unsolved car thefts.
Unsolved car thefts.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty alarming. There were nearly 25,000 car thefts in the last quarter of 2024. And get this, 78.5% of those cases are still unsolved.
Wow, almost 80%. That's not very reassuring.
It's no wonder people are feeling vulnerable. The Liberal Democrats are blaming budget cuts to the police force for this surge in unsolved crimes. They're saying that without enough resources and officers, the police just can't keep up.
It's a tough situation. If there aren't enough officers on the streets, to deter crime and actually investigate things thoroughly, it creates this sense of lawlessness.
Yeah, it definitely erodes public trust. It's a complex problem. It's not just about, more police. It's about addressing the root causes of crime while also making sure law enforcement has the tools they need.
Okay, so we've got car thefts on the rise, political scandals brewing, and a healthcare system struggling to keep up. Any good news?
Well, there are a few bright spots amidst all of this. Remember that amazing atomic clock we talked about?
Oh, yeah. The one that's so accurate it loses less than 1 second every billion years.
That's the one. Well, it was developed in a secret lab run by the UK's Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, DRISSL. they call it. And they're saying it's the first of its kind ever created in the UK. They say it could change everything, from military operations to scientific research.
It's a secret lab. That's pretty cool.
It is. It really shows the ingenuity and expertise of British scientists and engineers.
Okay, I'm feeling a bit more optimistic now. It's good to be reminded of all the incredible things we humans can do, even with all the challenges we face.
Definitely.
Speaking of incredible things, what about those dinosaur footprints?
Oh, yes. The ones in Oxfordshire.
The largest ones ever found in the UK.
It's amazing to think those giants once roamed the same land we walk on today.
I know, right? Scientists think some of them belong to sisysaurs. These huge herbivores that could grow up to 60 feet long. Can you imagine seeing one in person?
It would be breathtaking.
And they also found footprints from a megalosaurus. It's like a window into a prehistoric world.
It really sparks your curiosity, doesn't it?
It does. Speaking of sparking curiosity, let's go back to that tragic case of Sarah Sharif.
The 10-year-old girl who's killed by her father.
Sadly, there are more details about the attack on her father, Irfan Sharif, in prison.
Oh no, what happened?
It happened on New Year's Day. 2 inmates used a makeshift knife. It was made from a tuna can lid, and they slashed his neck and face.
Oh, that's awful. Even in prison, this kind of violence can happen. It's a reminder of how complex and challenging the prison system is.
Yeah, it's a grim reality.
It is.
Okay, I think we need something lighter now.
I agree. What else is going on?
Well, it looks like the UK is getting ready for some cold weather. Snow is predicted for a lot of areas in the coming days.
That's not so fun.
But it hasn't stopped millions of Brits from booking sunny vacations this month.
Makes sense. Escape the cold.
The Daily Star is calling it the Great Escape. You know, like the movie.
Clever. It seems like nothing can stop people from seeking out a bit of sunshine.
I love that. Even when things are a bit gloomy, there's always something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're back for our final look at today's UK news with Oleg Hill's UK Russian news channel. It's been quite the journey so far.
It really has. And this next story takes us to the global stage. We're talking about the conflict in Ukraine.
The Daily Telegraph has a pretty shocking report. Mass desertions from one of Ukraine's most elite fighting units.
Desertions? Wow, that's pretty rare, isn't it? Especially for an elite unit.
Yeah, it's the 155th Mechanized Brigade, known as Anakiv. And out of almost 6,000 soldiers, nearly 1,700 deserted during training.
1,700? That's a lot. What happened?
Well, according to the report, only a tiny fraction of the brigade had actual combat experience. Something like 51 soldiers.
That's hardly any. I mean, for a unit that's supposed to be on the front lines.
I know, right? And on top of that, they had equipment shortages and complaints about poor leadership. It really hurt morale.
So they were basically sent into battle unprepared.
Yeah, it seems like it. And they suffered heavy losses when they finally saw combat in Pokrovsk.
This really shows how complicated it is to, build a strong military force, especially during a war. You need proper training, leadership, and support to make sure soldiers are effective and safe.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even with all the technology and weapons, the human factor is still the most important thing in war. Okay, let's switch gears for a moment and go back to some good news. Remember that incredible atomic clock?
Of course. The one the UK Ministry of Defense developed.
Well, it turns out it can do more than just keep time. It could actually revolutionize military operations.
Oh, how so?
It could reduce our reliance on GPS, which is vulnerable to jamming and interference, so it would be a huge advantage for navigation and communication.
That makes sense. Reliable timing is essential for all sorts of things in the military. Targeting systems, secure communications.
Exactly. It's a great example of how a scientific discovery can lead to real strategic advantages.
It's pretty amazing, and to think it all came from a secret lab.
It makes you wonder what other incredible innovations are out there. Okay, let's talk about those dinosaur footprints again.
The ones found in Oxfordshire, those were fascinating.
They're giving scientists so much information about dinosaur behavior and the environment they lived in. They found footprints from sauropods, megalosaurus, even smaller bird-like dinosaurs.
It's like a window into a whole lost world.
I know. It's incredible to think about these creatures walking the same earth we do today, and to have these physical traces of their existence.
It really puts things in perspective.
Well, we've explored quite a bit today, haven't we? Politics, the economy, scientific breakthroughs, even dinosaurs.
It's been a fascinating journey through the UK news landscape.
And that wraps up our deep dive, brought to you by Oleg Hill's UK Russian news channel.
It's been a pleasure exploring all these stories with you.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you've learned something new and gained a new perspective on the events happening in the UK and around the world. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds engaged.